Hey, it's Eric again. This is going to be my part two video of my logo design journey. So in the last video, I've shown you how I've used Gemini and Canva, not to be mixed up with Canvas, that's within Google. So Canva, the company. Um, so yeah, I've shown you how I've tried and pretty much failed at fine-tuning the logo itself. So with Claude, this is my second go around at trying to create my logo and perfecting the form. And the first 20 minutes or so felt pretty good. Using Claude Sonnet 4, I just paid for this pro version. So everything's fine. I'm giving it minor tweaks and all that. As you can see, I'm at version 5 right now of my logo set. It's gotten the PNG version of the stacked version, the horizontal form. It even gave me some extra bonus items that I did not ask for, like this icon with text combination that I didn't ask for, and some monograms. So all good. Then I wanted to fine tune the white spaces that are coming from the uh, from this asset here. So let's take a look. So if you look carefully, this little white space here, it's not the same as this little white space. And it's just by a tiny little bit. So what I've done is, I've provided feedback like, hey, the white space and between the words they need to be equal, and the separators need to be the same width. Um, so all of that, it's fine. Um, and then it gives me the corrected version. I said, okay, great. Let's also remove the things that I don't need. So for example, the icons, I didn't ask for it. And then I want to make sure that the word marks are available uh, in different color schemes. So, I want a dark version like this for if I were to print on something light color. And then I also want an inverted color scheme. So let's say I wanted to print this on a black background, then the words obviously not going to show if I use this primary color schemes. So I just wanted the primary, the inverted, and the monochrome. And an example of that, I can actually pull from my Gemini examples. So here, Gemini actually gave me this very cool visualization tool. So I could switch my requested asset that I need, and then it'll just generate and copy, and save a copy of the file. All of that is fine and great. Um, but again, for Gemini, where it failed was when I started fine tuning, and I explained it in my last video, so I won't go into that. And I also went into that with Canva. So again, you can see that from the last video. But the reason why I wanted to use Claude is I was hoping that with the latest announcement where Claude has an integration with their connector with Canva, and you can see that right here. So they have integrated with Canva. So I thought maybe, just maybe, that Claude will have a much better LLM where they understand the user intent. And Canva is not great at that, right? Maybe they are not as good at it. So maybe Claude will understand me enough that they can generate the information and then pull from Canva to create the assets that I need. So you know what? I've asked for that, and then this is where things starts to go south. And I asked for a PNG file as well as the SVG file. Um, I asked if it's basically what files do I need, right? So I said, hey, I need the PNG file and SVG. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think SVG is the right format for printing this logo on a T-shirt with Printful.com. I'll be using the PNG version for typical digital assets and the use cases such as Gmail, TikTok, and IG logos. Okay, it explains why it's good or not good. Won't go into that too much, but this is where things start to go south. So it gave me a new updated logo, and then for whatever reason, it decided to put the primary colors as part of the logo, um, and the word inverted as part of the logo, which I don't need. Um, there is that. And then it instructed me to use these files for, um, for my use cases. And then it gave me the buttons for download assets. So I can mouse over this, but I can click it, but these buttons do nothing. So um, I need to some way somehow retrieve this file still. Okay. Um, I let it know that, hey, primary button doesn't work. And then he said, sorry, my bad. These are buttons in the HTML artifacts, and they're just for visual mockups. They don't actually do any real downloads. Okay, here's the new files that you need. I click on that. Logo is completely ruined. Logo is ruined again. Monochrome, not working. Here, horizontal. And this is just more or less the same in the last half an hour to an hour of debugging and revisions. So I said, okay, let's try this with without asking for the SVG, because I think what's going on is both Claude and Gemini are fine generating the PNG file. As soon as it tries to provide the SVG files where they're doing all these other calculations to make sure that it's all vector based and everything scales correctly, it just doesn't work anymore, and it breaks the code and model some way somehow. So maybe it's just too much of an ask. I'm not sure, but like here, for example, the primary word mark version 3, this is now broken. Um, Horizontal works kind of, but this is not the spacing that I worked on with the model earlier. Um, Inverted colors are sometimes working and other times not. It's like here, this horizontal version with the invert colors, this works, but with the wrong spacing. And that's inconsistent with just the earlier version. Here, with the monochrome, this is completely off. Now, if I were to go a little bit further, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. Okay, I provided very detailed and specific prompts in the feedback. Very detailed feedback with in the prompts. So download PNG button does not work. Instruction for the instruction it provided me to use right click on the text. So here, right click on each of the logo and then save. That doesn't work. It actually only gives me a right click, and then the only save as option is to save it in an HTML format. So that's not a PNG file. And then still the horizontal logo, the color schemes are incorrect. Okay, here is the biggest fail, the Claude to Canva fail. So while prompting this, it asked me, hey, you know what? Let's try to fix this in a better way. Can you approve me to use Canva? I said, okay. I approved it. It went into design generate or generate design, had a bunch of code, and then same thing, generating a horizontal design. There's a bunch of code that I'm not going to get into. I'm not actually well versed enough to explain what it's trying to do. There's a lot that goes on if you go into the details here, but these are a bunch of different file names, right? Okay, here is the logo version. So on the right, here's the Claude artifacts that it's showing me. There's a download PNG. Again, the buttons don't work for downloading. And the right click save as option, it will just give me the HTML version. So again, that doesn't work, right? Here's a kicker. Here, the recommended option is option 1, which is to download from Canva. And if I click on these designs, they look nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing. So hold on to your seats, because I don't want anybody falling off here. Here is design number 1 preview. Like voila! That is what Claude thinks it has handed off to Canva, and Canva came back with this, which looks absolutely nothing like this logo right here. forget the fact that this is, what's better. It's just different. Okay, this is version 1, or design 1, I should say. Stack logo design 2. I mean, it won't say it looks good or bad. It's just very different. Number 3, design number 4, and then here is they have horizontal logos as well. So horizontal 1, horizontal 2. I mean, never mind the fact that this is not really horizontal. This is a square. Um, and this is, if nothing else, more vertical than it is horizontal. Um, horizontal 3 and horizontal 4. I kid you not, like, for the designers who are worried that AI is going to take over, I think you're safe for now. Not to say that, these LLMs are not useful. Frankly, I couldn't have done any of this without the LLMs, but I also think it's important to be mindful about what we're expecting from these LLMs. I think my exercise today, having spent, probably hour and a half right now with Claude, trying to prompt and get the right design, is that I can reasonably get to 80, maybe even 90% of this pretty quickly in 30 minutes to maybe an hour, which is the same experience as I have with Gemini. The last mile, the last 10% of fine tuning is going to be very difficult. Um, if and these two are, some of the leading LLMs, right? So, there's OpenAI as well, with the ChatGPT. I just chose Gemini and Claude for these two exercises. Um, with Canva, I wouldn't really bother with their AI generation tool. Now, it is possible that if I were to take any one of these designs and to actually go and edit, that maybe their AI edit tool here would be more precise in terms of, like, okay, let's hone in on a particular design, and then let's, you know maybe edit to delete this little dot here. Maybe AI can do that. I'm not sure. I haven't tried, and that will certainly be an interesting exercise for a different video. But for today, just trying to use LLM to create and perfect my logo, I don't think we're there yet. Um, so what does that what does that leave me or us with? What I think is two things. I think the ask to have, well, number one is to have the proper expectations going in, but number two, I think, is asking for PNG is good. Asking for SVG is not so good. So I went back to Gemini and I said, hey, let's see if this is just wrong because um here we go. Uh just for the pursuit of knowledge, maybe the SVG file is what's throwing us off. Remove all the code that is pertaining to SVG file formats. Let's just see if you can reproduce our digital assets again with just PNG in mind. Gemini seems to think that was a brilliant pivot, and thought that that's the root of the problem. Of course, it came back and it didn't quite didn't quite hit the mark either, because this is still broken, with the form sticking out, the word form sticking out past the file. Same here. I said, nope, still broken. This is a very, how do I say, not a very specific prompt. And I really more or less said it out of frustration than it is truly an attempt from my part to correct the file and debug. I just wanted to say, hey, it's still broken. Let's see if it would just do something and revise. And it did not. It gave me the final version, and then I went ahead and tried to be a little bit more precise. Both logos are off in the file size itself. The stack logo is offset towards the left, in the earlier version, so I'm showing you the final right now. And then the horizontal logo, it just went way beyond. Like, I think it got cut off at like a G or something like that. So this is what I came back with from the so-called final, or I should say, at this particular moment. At 4 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon. So this is what I'm left with. I think I'll tinker with this a little bit more. Between Gemini and Claude, I think we're really close to an acceptable format. Like, I think this is probably good if I could just find a way to download the file. Same with this inverted format. I believe if I just publish this, publishing is probably the right thing to do here. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and publish this. Okay. I don't really want it to be public, but let's just see what that looks like. Yeah, so publishing it doesn't actually help in terms of getting the download ready. So, and this isn't because I have some sort of pop-up blocker. Just none of this works. Let's see if I could save as. It is still showing me HTML, so um, yeah, but I'm close. I'm close. Um, but yeah, Claude and Canvas integration fail. All right, that's all. Thank you.